Hey guys, so I am back with another book review. This is book review number 4 for 2022. I am excited. This was kind of a rough week. Just going back to school and doing all the work things, being an adult after a holiday break is always hard. What should have taken me literally 2 hours to read. Maybe 3 hours. But it shouldn't have taken me any time at all to read this book, and it literally took me all week, just because I had stuff to do and kept putting it down. But this week's book review is an old one. It's from the mixed up files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankenweiler. This is a book that was published in like the 1960s, I think. So it's an old one, and I think it's technically classified as children's lit. Not sure. It's a Newbery, or a Newbery Award winner. It has been around for a little while, and it's just a really kind of chill book. Since I think it's pretty much classified as children's literature, it's a very, very easy read. Depending on the version that you get, there's some illustrations in it. It's like 150 pages. It's really not a long book at all. But this book is about two kids, Claudia and Jamie, and they go and they hide out in the Met in New York. And so their whole thing is that they're just running away, and they want to run away to some place that they think would be logical. And a place that nobody would find them easy for them to blend in. So they pick the Met, of all places. The story, because it's an old story, there were a few things in it that I'm like, that should probably be taken, or would probably be taken out in modern context. But the vast majority of it, I thought, really has stood the test of time. It's still very timeless to just kind of imagine what you would do if you decided to run away from home and go to some place like the Met. I know that I never personally thought about running away from home to go to an art museum, but some kids may have. I don't know. I do find that is kind of interesting, just the concept, and I would be curious to know what the author, which is E.L. Konigsburg. I'm probably saying her name wrong, but I'm just curious what her thought process was when she created this story. It just seems like something that no child would literally ever think to do. Granted, it was written in the 60s, so things might have been thought about differently. I don't know. Maybe kids had more freedom to do those things. I did like reading, though, from kind of a historic perspective, mostly because I've never been to New York City. I obviously would like to go at some point, but I'd just be really curious, just to see some of the places if they still exist. But it was also interesting to read about the different places that they went, that I know do still exist, and think about just what it would have looked like in the 60s versus what it looks like now, or the amount of people or things like that. Because they do talk about New York being very, very busy, which it still is very much a very busy city. But I'd just kind of be curious to see the comparisons between then and now. I do like the book. As an adult, it was a little rough for me to read and get into it, just because I looked at it from an adult perspective. That said, though, I don't think I would have read this as a kid. I don't think it would have interested me at all. And I wasn't doing a whole lot of reading when I was super young. I did start reading a lot more when I was about 10, 11. If I picked it up, I'm sure I would have actually read the book, but I would not have enjoyed it. It's not really my cup of tea in terms of plot and topic, but the writing style, I did like her writing style, although it was a little confusing because the author is writing it as if she's Mrs. Basil E., who is talking to her lawyer. And so you're, as the reader, assuming the role of her lawyer. And it was just very jarring because she constantly says the lawyer's name. She's like, well, if you've been there, you know this thing. And I'm like, I haven't been there. I don't know the thing. So that was kind of hard for me to read. I mean, I thought it was kind of fun just to kind of write it from that perspective, but it was hard for me to read because there were some things that she was explaining, and although they were explained for a a reader to understand at the level that I think was assumed that they would understand, I don't think it really translated that well. And I know as like 12-year-old me, I would not have understood any of it at all. I would have just been lost, which is why I don't think I would have enjoyed it as a kid. But even as an adult, you know, I was just like, there were some parts where I was just confused as to what she was talking about. And I had to go look them up, or I just had to really, really think really hard about it. And I, you know, eventually came to the conclusion that I kind of knew what she was talking about. So there were some parts of it that were just really hard for me to understand and really hard for me to follow. But outside of that, I would probably give this book about a 3. Maybe I'm definitely going to keep it around for any future potential small ones that may want to read it. Plus, I tend to not really get rid of books. But I would give it a 3, just because, like, I love the writing style, just because it's different than, you know, your average book. But I would really like to see more, or would have liked to see more explanation, because as a reader who is not from New York, who doesn't really know anything about that area, a lot of it was just very confusing and a little bit jarring. So yeah. So that is book. I don't even know what book I'm on. And is this 4? Did I say it was 4? I don't remember. But that's it for this episode of Yara Does Books. But I'm looking forward to reading some more. And again, a lot of people have given me really, really great book suggestions. So loving that. So please keep book suggestions coming in. You can drop them in the comments below the video. You can drop them in the comments on socials. Really enjoying this. Also, has absolutely nothing to do with books. But if you guys have ideas for other editing softwares, I'm all ears. The one that I had been using for the last, basically since the pandemic started, or a little bit before the pandemic started, it just doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't work. I don't know what's happening to it. It's a whole mess. And so I've been fighting with it. So I'm doing everything on my phone. And as you can tell, I can't cut anything anymore. I can cut some things on my phone, but I can't cut a lot of things. And so a lot of things are very, very choppy if I try to cut them. So I'm trying to do everything in one fell swoop. So if you guys have cool editing software that is decently free that I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for, I am all ears for it. I'm looking forward to hearing more about those things. So until next time, bye.